Why does he always act surprised? Why does he do that? It's so weird. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I need to learn a new language. At least a little bit of it. Need to find a way to say good morning in, I don't know, Amharic. I wouldn't mind learning a little bit more Amharic. I only know restaurant food items in Amharic. It's good language. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining. So I was reading more commentary. One of the very first things that really got me excited about God, that got me excited about the Bible, got me excited about our Creator, was heaven. It was the mystery of what our Creator did, has done, continues to do, that really made my brain turn, so to speak, right? And it still does, all these years later. How old am I? Yeah, I've been a Christian, I think I mentioned this, 20 years. Or close to it. November 99. So yeah, this November will make 20 years. And I'm still a baby. But I want to talk about a couple of interesting subjects regarding space, regarding some limited understanding or presuppositions that people have that I think really hinder their ability to surrender to the glory of God, surrender to the fact that they're not going to be able to put God in a box, so on and so on. So I think I'd mentioned this on another video, but I think it's helpful to put information within the category that defines it. So I named the title of this video, and folks that might find this title interesting will potentially be able to find some of the talking points within it that relate to the title. Isn't that convenient? So, when God created the heavens and the earth, in the beginning of created things, yeah, I agree. In the beginning of all created things, when the earth was formless, what was the age of the universe when God created it? What was its... So let me step back for a moment. There's something called chronological age when we talk about human beings, and there's something called intellectual age. This is how we determine IQ. So if somebody has the intellectual age of a 40-year-old, but they're only 10, well, they have a 400 IQ. I know, I think I've mentioned this before, that's a oversimplification of the issue of IQ, but it's really, in its most simple form, IQ is intellectual age divided by chronological age. Yes, that is correct. So if you have an intellectual age that's below your chronological age, you have an IQ that's less than 100. If you have an intellectual age that's more than your chronological age, you have an IQ that's above 100. That's how it works. And if they meet exactly, then you have an IQ of 100 and you are the average. And the average always is changing based on what's going on in society. So an IQ of 100 now might not compare to an IQ of 100 25 years ago. So that's interesting. And that's part of what makes that science really not truth-bearing to the degree that we would hope, if that makes any sense. It shouldn't be used as absolute standard for understanding truth. So anyway, so I'm using that, painting that little picture. I'm not a good artist, but I have some good ideas. I just need to get them out the right way. So think about that in metaphor to space. It's specifically in relation to creation, specifically to age. Okay? So at the beginning, the actual chronological second, as in measure of time, what was the age of the universe chronologically when God said, "Let there be"? Chronologically, I think it can be easily explained that chronologically, the moment he said, "Let there be," that it was new, it was fresh, it was brand new. Good theologians, good teachers of doctrine and truth, strongly urge individuals not to try to teach from where the Bible is silent. So I'm not here to teach. I'm here specifically on this topic to help you think. Not to necessarily conclude on what is true, but to certainly be able to deny lies. To certainly be able to deny falseness that's painted as truth, that's painted as logical. I'm here to poke holes in folks' assumptions, basically. So, by the time he gets down to man, 6 days in, I'll get to it. By the time he gets to man, the chronological age is 6 days. Chronologically. The Bible, specifically Genesis, is written in narrative form. Poetic, figurative language was very available to Moses. However, that's not how Genesis was written, I should say. He did affirm that. Chronological days into creation. What is the apparent age of the universe? What is the apparent age? Not what is the chronological age. What is the apparent age? Well, by the time Adam was created, we have trees with fruit. By the time Adam was created, we had other animals that were alive. They weren't like eggs. They were walking around. By the time we had Adam, we had solar system, stars in the sky, everything's operational, up to speed. By the time we had Adam, at 6 chronological days, we had an atmosphere. By the scientists, what's the apparent age? How long does it take for a blade of grass to grow? 6 days? 2 days? 1 day? Well, how long does it take for a tree to grow? and to bear fruit. Well, how long does it take for an atmosphere to form? See, guys, it's way more simple than people seem to want to accept. It's way more simple than all that. How long would it take for any of those things to happen if you were the creator, being not a creator? We are formers. We're builders. That's who we are. Thank you. That's who we are as human beings, as creatures. Creatures. Where does that word come from? Creature. We are created. So how long would it take for created people, things, to form something else? So if you use the concept of how long it would take for us to do it, yeah, millions and millions and billions makes plenty of sense from the context and perspective of our own hands. But that's not how the Bible tells the story. That's not how it happened. Creation came into existence by the hands. Actually, I should say, not the hands. Creation came into existence by the voice, by the word of God, by the very utterance. Do we have context for that? No. No, we don't have context for that. Why don't we? Well, we do, in small ways. We do. The power of life and death is in the tongue. Who holds that kind of power? Technically, we all do. But where do we get to see it really, really blatantly? Think of a judge. Think of a judge. Judge Judy? Doesn't matter. Probably does. There's probably better judges as examples. But the power of life and death is in the tongue. Think of how much power a judge's tongue has. They have. So, plainly put, though, we don't have a full context for understanding what it means for the Creator to speak things into existence and how that changes the rules for how things are to be. So we form. We take dirt. We scoot it aside. Scoot is a weird word, by the way. But we push it aside, we stick the seed, we cover it back up, we put the water, we wait and we wait and we wait. And we make sure that no crazy stuff like weeds or whatever comes and attacks this little seedling. That's form. That's what we do. We form things. We shape things. We manipulate. We create nothing. We merely modify what already is. And all of our rules, math, science, is completely and utterly dependent on that perspective, that vantage point. It's all we have. It's our observable nature. Okay? It's the scope of our ability to observe reality. But it is not the totality of reality. To say so would be ignorant and shameful, because there's a reality beyond our observation. There's reality beyond our ability to observe. Old adage by the words, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody heard it, did it really fall? I probably butchered it a little bit, but I know you get the point. It's a stupid question, in my opinion. It's got philosophical origins, and it's meant to make you think about what is truth. There is a reality that goes above and beyond our ability to observe. It's a big topic. Probably could spend hours on that topic alone. But my analogy that I'm going to provide is this. Adam was created as a man that was immediately with knowledge enough to name all of the animals and get bored. Or depressed or something. Why are you saying that? Why are you saying he was bored or depressed? Well, because God said it wasn't good for him to be alone. Adam literally tried to hang out with every animal that God made. Hey, what's up, bear? Hey, what's up, lizard? This isn't fun. Hey, chicken, what's up? Oh boy, that thing is stupid. Hey, orangutan. Obviously, those aren't the words that Adam spoke. I'm joking, but he named them all. He didn't name any English, obviously. Duh. But anyway, point being is he tried to hang out with all the animals. That didn't work out. It's not good for you to be alone. He had the opportunity to make friends with any animal in existence, and yet it wasn't good. He was still alone. Anyway, I'm getting on a tangent. The point is this. Adam was chronologically days old. He was young chronologically. What was he apparently? By the eyes of an observer, how old was Adam? Well, how long does it take for a man to be 15, 20, 30, 40? How old was he? It's not even hardly relevant. But it is, knowing that he was a man. He wasn't a baby. He skipped all that. So if anybody has the right to say, I was never a child, it would be Adam. It would be Adam. So, that being said, would you recognize the metaphor between Adam being old on day one, on the first second of his existence? He was old. So, why is it so hard for people to understand logically and rationally that upon the existence of the universe, that it too was chronologically an infant? But apparently, however old, it would make sense for a former, for a builder, for a created thing to see it happen from start to finish, if you think that that's how it works. But here's the thing. There is a fallacy in how people understand things to be created, because people have tried to explain creation apart from God. And it's the premise itself that's faulty. That matter somehow gravitationally pulls itself together, builds enough mass at some point that it then will explode and create a solar system or a galaxy or whatever. Because you got to explain this somehow, or the creator opened his mouth, said words, and it was, and that's the truth. And because we're formers, because we're builders, because we manipulate what has already been created, it is beyond our ability to do the same thing. All right, I do have a visor. It's so simple a child could understand it, and that's part of why I believe one of the many, many reasons why Jesus points to the children to help us understand proper faith. Excuse me. There's it's good and just wisdom for us to remember that. So let's talk about space. I've now given you the metaphor to understand why the age of the universe is discussed the way that it is. There's a boulevard. There's no reason to stop. So let's talk about some substance. Talk about dark matter. This substance that supposedly makes up 99+% of the universe. It's potentially transparent. It's non-reflective, and it casts no shadow. But it has substantive qualities that substantiate its existence. It's like so not. I find the topic interesting. What makes up the universe? Just trying to describe it, trying to explain it. I get it, and I'm interested by it. I like the theories. I like reading about. I like reading about the different ways to explain it. I do. It's fun. I like math. I like the numbers. I like all of that stuff. But on the other hand, it's kind of boring. In regards to. So there's a verse I like to give y'all homework. So the verse I want you to try and find, speak in a cryptic way, and then let you look up the verse yourself. So where is it in the Bible where it says that that there's like endless labor? Oh, well, look at that. They destroyed a building. It's interesting. That endless are the days of toil and trying to figure stuff out. Man, I am really horrible at quoting sometimes. Maybe that's enough to go off of. I know the verse. I just I want you to imagine that spider web every time. On Tuesday mornings specifically, I have caffeine, so it does the weird spider web thing to my brain where the picture of a spider that's building a normal web, a spider on cocaine, and a spider on caffeine, and how that caffeine web just is a hot mess. Whew, sometimes caffeine is helpful, and sometimes it's just, on the early stages of caffeine, it's like, I don't even know what thoughts are. I'm kidding. It's all good. But it's a psychoactive substance. It really is. All right. So, we can toil and toil. And a lot of what we try to conceptualize ultimately will fall short of determining what is absolutely true. And we need to always remember that we have been provided sufficient information for the truth. Where is this sufficient? And sufficient's the best word. Where is this truth that is sufficient for what we need in life? That would be the scripture. So, what more could you possibly say besides 2 Timothy 3:16? It's sufficient, and that needs to be at the forefront of our mind. And we need to treat it that way, and we need to live that way, just like the other verse that I shared, 2 Timothy 2:23. What an incredibly important verse to remember. So beautiful. So important. We miss the point a lot because, well, we've been created in the image of God, and we sometimes lose sight of the order of creation, and we sometimes, get excited about trying to create, trying to explore, trying to explain, and we need to make sure that we subject ourselves to the order of creation, how God has created us. Very important. So, what is dark matter, antimatter? What are these things? I like to think about it. I mean, I usually think about these things in much more simple terms. They try to explain it in so, well, there's a motivation as to why scientists explain the universe in the way that they do. And I don't feel as though that I'm limited in the ways that they are limiting themselves in explaining the universe. So for instance, we talk about there's nothing between the earth and the sun. It's all just emptiness. There's nothing. But if that were the case, they would be touching. Well, no, because there is something. It's called space, distance. Does distance require substance is the question. Well, no. It doesn't even make sense to me that would be a yes. I can't see it at all. That's just confusing. Why would distance require substance? The only way that something can have distance between another thing is because of a substance that separates it. But why? Why would that be necessary? Maybe I'm missing something. But from my perspective and the way that I see it, those two things are separate. Way more separate than apples and oranges. Just different. Just completely different. That's like saying that time is the same thing as sound. Well, what do you mean? I mean, saying that distance and space are dependent on each other is, to me, like saying that sound and time are dependent on each other. They're like so different, they're not even comparable. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So the fact that there's distance between the sun and the earth doesn't require substance. It doesn't mean that there isn't or that there is substance. It's just they're unrelated topics. Ooh, that's not a fun bridge to cross. Good luck. Good grief. Ugh, I wouldn't want to do that. Anyway, so that's that. Okay, so how about this? You've got objects that we observe that are moving away from the Earth in all directions. Stars, solar systems, galaxies. So it's not like we're part of just we'll make some time today. This time I will not cut the stream. I'll make some time. I'll thumb through the comments and go ahead and post your questions. I'll get to them when I park, which will be about 15-ish minutes. How is it that the Earth could be part of the solar system, that's part of the edge of a galaxy, that's also so definitely not the center of anything necessarily, because what is the center? What does that even mean? And why would we need to be? But why would we not? Why would it be? Why does it mean? Getting twisted. What does it matter either way is what I'm trying to say. But then how could we be at the edge of this galaxy and also all these other things be moving in all these different directions at different rates? I think I doubt our ability to clearly determine, to clearly observe, to purely observe what's going on in our universe. I think that we have vast limitations on our ability to observe what's going on. Let's talk about space. Could we be a multiplanetary species before Christ comes back? That's an interesting question that some people are interested in. Could we? There's no reason to say no, in my opinion. And there's no reason to require it, in my opinion. So what I mean by that is there's nothing that indicates the necessity for it, biblically speaking. A mon avis, in my opinion. A mon avis is French. It's for my opinion. In my opinion. And there's nothing that prohibits it. Again, that's not an exegetical statement. That's just my opinion, based on what I've read and learned from Scripture. So, study for yourself and see if you have more to add to that conversation. And that's pretty much the end of that conversation, but it's always fun to think about a Star Trek kind of existence. It is fun. Well, is there life on other planets and life beyond Earth? Is this the first iteration of existence? Are there other dimensions? My immediate answer to somebody that sincerely is curious about such a thing is the simplest answer I can come up with. Again, my opinion is that is not relevant. It's not relevant. Is it fun or even is it potentially beneficial to have that discussion? Okay, maybe. Give a big fat maybe on that one. But is it relevant, as in necessary? I would actually argue no. I would say no. Because I think that we escalate ourselves, Tower of Babel, too much. Too much. And it happens over and over again. How did the Tower of Babel happen? All people were unified. What's more and more happening on our Earth, on our planet? More and more people coming together, more and more people speaking the same language. Every time I think about the unifying of power and peoples on the planet, New World Order, One Nation Earth, so on and so on, all these dealios, I just think of the Tower of Babel every time. Like, every time. It's all the same thing over and over again. It's the same thing. The godness of God is so amazing, so awe-inspiring, so awesome, that you have to make a choice. You're forced to make a choice. You either worship and serve, or you seek and you pretend to make yourself out to be like him. Just remembered, if things just remembered, and I mean, I'm saying including Lucifer, but if there was such a regular understanding and reminding of the fact that there is creator and there is created, and we just simply remembered just that, how can you get it wrong if you just remember that alone? It is simple. It's not easy, but it just blows my mind. It's so apparent. Anyway, I was going in a direction. Somehow, I've gotten slightly derailed. Trying to remember where I was going. It's okay, because I'm getting close to be able to answer some questions if y'all have any questions. I think that oftentimes what's happening is people are considering the option of living in other places because it helps build the tower. It helps build the Tower of Babel. Becoming a multi-planetary says I'm live. Becoming a multi-planetary species, I'm saying, is just like building a tower. The Tower of Babel. It is the modern equivalent of tower building. Because the more we take over the solar system, the galaxy, other galaxies, the more we think we can become like God. Well, you saw what he did to the folks that tried to build a tower here on Earth. No, I haven't. I keep hearing about it. I have not even tried to look it up. This is my free time. My commute to work is my free time. So, so I'm trying to make use of it by seeing what I can do to provide value to folks out there. And if one day this supports my ability to alleviate some of the cost related to a 45-minute commute, then so be it. And hopefully I won't always have a 45-minute commute. Hour and a half every day on the road. Hopefully it won't always be that way. But anyway. Um, so, what did he do to the people of the Tower of Babel? Read the story. It's good stuff. So if that was how he responded, God, our creator, the one who loves us, the one who desperately he loves us so much, he over and over again sustains us. He prevents our complete and total destruction. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. So how much more would he respond in his vast justice and righteousness to the attempt to become multi-planetary, multi-galactic species? I'm not saying he would prohibit it, absolutely. It just seems a little too much like the Tower of Babel to me. I could be wrong. I just think that specifically in our fallen state, that's not what we're going to ever be able to accomplish. That's my hypothesis. In regards to a new heaven and a new earth, the sky's the limit, in my opinion. I think, and by the sky's the limit, I mean there is no limit, in my opinion. I don't think that will be nearly as limited. So what we're going to do here, my Rogan was in the way. Let's see. Let's pull this up, see what's going on. Isn't that funny? My thumb, you can see, see, my thumb has to go there because it's just, let's go. When he was born full grown man. Yep. What's the lie? Hey, bears. I'm really happy to see the variety of folks here. The creation story is both literal and allegorical. That he spoke everything into being, but day is merely an expanse of time. Baldylocks, if you're still here, my answer to your question is I'm not okay with that. That's based on my study of the Hebrew. There was plenty of opportunity to talk about olam. Olam. Holam Vav, Lamed, Aleph, Mem, I believe. I might have the spelling wrong on that. But the word is olam. And you could type in O-L-A-M into a Google search. But the word olam is what should have been used there if that was the intention. Melech ha'olam is the phrase you'll find in the Bible over and over again. You'll see King of the Universe, Melech ha'olam. But universe is about time too, right? That word olam is talking about the expanse of time, not just space and physical. So no, I do not believe that Genesis is talking about allegorical days. I believe that they are literal chronological days. I do not believe that they are apparent days. I believe by our observation, yeah, AADARSH, I am live. I thought that was obvious. But yeah, I know how people can play back videos. The Hebrew word yom means a literal day. Good job, Grumpy Bear. You are correct. There's also an interesting point in Genesis. Vahi Erev, Vahi Voker, Yom Echad. And the Yom Echad is day one. Every other day, like day 2, he doesn't say day 2, and that's really interesting. He doesn't say day 2. He says day 1, but then he proceeds to say second day, third day, fourth day. He very, very specifically indicates that it's the first day ever, which could be significant to the argument of potential other iterations. There may be no other prior iterations of existence. We really could be the first, And even though that's hard to understand, it doesn't matter. God's creator. Nothing else matters. Pretty sure it's in Proverbs. Distance is measurement. Substance is physical. Yes. Can you name another instance where you could measure a distance and there's nothing in between the 2 points? Not necessarily Ballylocks that you asked at 8 a.m. I just still think that they're separate issues. A liberal brain. I don't know what that was in reference to, Grumpy, but a liberal brain is funny as a phrase. Nice one, Grumpy. Have you seen Principle Gospel? No, yeah, we're still talking about Principle. And then, oh boy. Oh no. Okay. What's going on? All right, let's see. It's important to note as well that the mindset of the people building the Tower of Babel was that the earth was flat and that they could reach heaven that way. I don't read that. I'll go back over those verses, but there is, as far as I have read, there is absolutely nothing in the Bible that literally says flat in the Hebrew. So I'll double check, but I don't see that at all. Bab-El also means gate of God. They may have been trying to build a Stargate. Interesting. Douglas Hamp. Thank you, Grumpy Bear. Everyone thought the Earth was flat until 2 centuries ago. It's not that old. It's not that new. It's older than that. It's older than that. It's older than that, going back to the 1400s, dude. Don't forget about good old Christopher Columbus and why he sailed off. I know that there are some elements of misinformation to the Columbus story, but the dude was in a boat, and he was trying to find a different path to India. So that much is simply understood.